I'm over in Westcott, but you look familiar, and I don't know if you're familiar with real estate.
She'll do it. I just want to make sure I time it right. Because I don't want to drop it if we just potentially still get more.
So I would
So I was.
Because I no longer
it is.
People think that's just
no, I don't believe that's
And I was just.
right. There's a specific way. So you can pull it. Well, you can do it. You can pull it at 8 and you can pull it up.
Seniors as well. I thought about that. Oh, let me show you how to do this. Okay, so mine, I can move, you can move it around, but I keep mine open. So I'm gonna make that counter. And then you can see how many portals we've got sent to, how many clients actually.
We've got some videos. We'll have Eric about our videos today too.
How many auto emails got sent to you, how many agents rejected it, and how many agents viewed it. Oh, I just clicked my hit counters. Here, pull up yours.
I'll go down west part of the brain. I want to get set up.
Susan and I go way back.
I know we took them.
Yeah, we go way.
I don't know why it's so.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Come on.
I'm just gonna do a bunch of announcements. And we'll put a video introducing the house. Well,
That's awesome.
that video was fantastic.
Okay.
And you were predominantly explaining it, so I thought let's complete it.
Mine, counter, should be
Amanda and the
Thank you.
Hello, how are you?
Thanks for all these.
No, it's here.
Hello.
How are you, man?
Good.
Hey there.
How are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
So,
Julianne.
Oh, no, you can use it.
it's nice to finally meet you in person. I'm Amanda Warren. The one that keeps making you up with I haven't talked to them recently, so I did.
But you we saw, and we got a call that last week. So we're,
I think it might be.
it was so busy. They knew they could eliminate
So if it's not checked, you can't really prospect it.
Isn't that something?
So you'll have to check mark, prospect. And then it brings up everybody that has a client that got emailed to them. And then it tells you when it got emailed, if they favorited it. Also, it tells you how many emails they've sent to that client.
That's what we're hoping to do, so that's our big plan on Thursday.
So like these people have sent me crazy amounts of emails. Maybe they just forgot that they were uncertain.
Don't I have a great set?
You really do, like from the people working the ballot or working with the folks helping us do it. Nancy's helping us with the volunteering.
No, I
Which
don't know.
Nancy's?
Oyster Card.
Kimberly,
Okay.
if I don't have a, what's it called?
Hit camera.
If I don't have a
Does
camera on my
it
screen, does that mean, is it because I don't have any live listings right now?
Like for reverse prospecting.
or like a mass email.
Yeah, like FMLS.
Does it have to be a live listing, you know?
It's just amazing
Yeah.
all the things you guys do.
Every day is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would kind of make sense though, because you don't really need a reverse prospect if you're under contract.
Right.
That's, yeah, because I'm like, okay, I don't have that, why do I have that?
But then nobody's gonna say,
Oh, we get in trouble by theater.
Come sit in the
I
fun
know,
corner.
it's the trouble corner.
Okay, that would make sense though, wouldn't it?
This morning, I'll just sit right there and get I'll bask in it.
They see my work takes all the time.
Yeah, so that's it, and then I don't know how to like mass email it.
That's
So
awesome.
normally
Well,
what
I'll
I
tell
do is
some
I just
stories
copy paste
that
everybody,
you know.
put them in a spreadsheet, delete, and then take all of them and put them in one company email. Or if but if it gets me a buyer to my house, reverse prospecting.
You know that's my best friend there.
I know, you've been on this show. I'm like,
I think it's their
Okay,
week.
so we've got Amanda's, she has a hip count.
Oh, no, I'm gonna.
So I have a hit counter. Where I can see how many portals, how many clients viewed it, how many agents rejected it, viewed it. And then I can reverse prospect it.
And it's always been on there, or did you?
Only when I have an active list.
So I don't have any active listings at all, and so that's one thing that
Y'all, there's some Chick-fil-A here too. If you want. Oh, sure, that sounds good.
that was the thing we just set up yesterday as a board.
I just like to say,
What's that?
That's all I Well, it's been through right. Yeah, no, like just for one. Okay, you know, you're a match, you know, somebody did it. So I wonder if that's also just kind of but a lot of people don't even ever, and it hasn't well, it's just the thing so I can see I called it. Yesterday.
Everybody has time in their life for them. Everybody has time in their life for them. The Bible says you have not, you ask for. If you don't ask for help, you're not gonna get help. This is a place for help. It doesn't just benefit. So if you do help, it benefits you. It benefits the claim to this. You have to let you know. It's something that my house knows on the
This is yours. Wait. Sorry.
I understand.
Yeah,
Dígale a ellos cuando veniste primero a
llegamos a Monos porque necesitábamos ayuda en el momento que pues vino usted a este mundo.
We needed help when I came to this world.
Tuve un problema de discriminación.
We had a problem to talk English. And when my dad went to that sounds not accurate.
Una Navidad no tenía juguetes para usted.
One Christmas, I didn't have any toys for me.
Yes, exactly.
Mis sobrinos de una dirección.
You don't want to break
Oh, you got another big gun today. Number 2.
Because there's cataracts.
I just do one. But thank you for saying it. I'm sending you
Y eso es algo agradecemos. Y eso lo agradecemos.
From here, when I come to Must, it's nice to see Miss Hope, Mr. Eric, and everybody here. I like getting food from here, and Miss Hoy gives me some prizes every time when I come here.
What would you like to say to
Que les quería decir a las personas del mundo.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Someone give me some good news.
It's almost Red Day.
It's almost Red Day. And what is Red Day?
Our National Day of Giving Back. And we're supporting a great cause like we just saw in that video, families in need and helping them have a little more food in their bellies.
I love that. I love that. Other good news.
Oh my gosh, I have a graduate, you all. I have a graduate, the last one.
Other good news.
I'm getting to see Jim Alexander.
What's your good news?
My graduate, who was a freshman this year, is coming home this week.
Yay!
For the summer.
Oh, good. Is that good news?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Well, I hope so.
Well, guys, so what it's already a grandma or grandpa. So I'm gonna tell you what I did last Saturday. I was invited to go to my grandson's track meet. It started at 10 in the morning. It finished at 6 o'clock at night. I was there all day long in the rain and the cold. Either I'm not smart or I love those kids. Maybe a little bit of both. And they spent most of the day playing with their friends. But did I love it? 100%. Because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what Pops do. All right, who else has got great news?
Beautiful
Great
day
news.
outside.
What'd you say?
Beautiful day outside.
Isn't it gorgeous? Let's give for a beautiful day. I love that. Yay! Yay! Other good news. Ma'am.
We have a new administrator in our office, and we're real excited to have her join our group. And it's Jessica Slater. And please come up and say hello to her and help her out if you see her in the building.
Welcome.
It's a good thing that Dr. Ike is here this morning.
He's an extra prayer.
Welcome, Jessica. We're glad to have you here. Okay, other good news.
I have a guest. Israel, you want to introduce yourself?
Israel, welcome.
My name's Israel. Nice to meet everyone.
Who else has good news? Anybody in television land have good news?
Hey, Jim, my niece just graduated from Auburn with a master's in accountancy, and that is why I'm not there. I promised her a trip to the beach. So we're down at the beach, but your office is so awesome. Our office is so awesome. I didn't miss this opportunity to spend time with the best agents and the best office, and also hear the program today.
Jeff, since you could not be here, I'm glad you sent a replacement. It's not you, but they sent a replacement. We'll talk about his replacement a little bit later, okay? Other good news. Anybody got good news? Yes, ma'am. Michelle.
All right, my house goes on the market tomorrow, so please sell it.
I have a buyer. I have a buyer.
Okay.
That was quick.
I said it first.
Okay. You can sell it. I mean,
Okay, I'm raising the offer.
Okay. I'm taking it, maybe. Anyway, the reason it's going on
the governance of my children.
the reason it's going on the market, I'll be relocating permanently to the coast, to South Carolina. And I'm so excited. Jim and I are talking about some remote possibilities, so I'm not going away. I'm just gonna look at a lagoon and alligators while I talk to you.
Nothing's different.
You will exchange the alligators here for the alligators.
Yeah, they don't talk. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, Michelle is so excited about being at the beach. And you guys, do it while you can do it. Enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
Because this life can take some interesting turns sometimes. So.
It does. And I want to say that for all of you that think that you want to achieve a goal, write it down. 30 years ago, I wrote down that I wanted to go to Hilton Head, South Carolina. And 30 years later, I'm going. So,
So that's good news, and we certainly are excited for Michelle to start the next phase of her life. That's fabulous.
I got a
Anybody
great
else?
church for you down there.
I'd love to hear it.
Great.
Hilton Head Community.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about Putney's pastor.
I'd love to know. Good. We need a new church home.
Great. All right. Anybody else before we move on? We have a full agenda today. Then let us move on. Okay, Thomas and Brown. Carrie is at an event in Savannah, Georgia for Keller Williams. So she's there this morning. And she has a couple of classes we want to make sure you all know about. Choose Your Own Adventure, free 3-hour CE class at the Galleria. And you need to RSVP. And that's on May 16th from 1 to 4. And I think there is isn't there a reception after that maybe? A happy hour, followed by happy hour, exactly what I'm getting. And Carrie throws the best happy hours that you can think of, and so just realize that. It's on my calendar, I think, May 16th, yes, and so guys, come if you can, we'd love to have you there participating in this great CE class. And next. Pardon me?
This is license law,
Oh,
the
license.
year in office.
And license law also free 3-hour CE class, Quan Training Room, May 25th from 1 to 4. Guys, you have to have this in order to renew your license, so don't do it. Make sure you call you and say, stop practicing real estate because you don't have this class yet. You have it before you can get your license renewed. So guys, go ahead and just take this right now. That's 2 great classes for you, provided by our closing attorney, Thomas and Brown. Tom, I invite you to join us on the patio, Southern Gentleman in Buckhead, June the 2nd. 5:30 to 7:30, so please join them there. Also, gonna be fun, guys. Okay, who is up? It must be
Jeff.
Jeff, are you gonna say something, buddy?
Well, I just, like I said, I didn't want to miss this opportunity for today. And I fortunately, my mentor, our regional operating manager, our regional partner, and my friend Pat Flood, I think, is there in the audience. So I'm really fortunate that Pat can come, and I'm really fortunate to get to be here with you all.
If you can't come, he's not a bad replacement, Jeff. So Pat, come up for a second, introduce you. And Pat, give us a literally 30-second view of what you see in the market today.
Jim, you know I can't do anything in 30 seconds.
Yes, you can, Pat.
You can.
So I would not panic. Rates are still at levels that are below historic levels. It's just a shock that took place in the last 60 days. It does definitely mean something to all those people who had expectations. But the good news is this: our markets, that is housing, historically have been driven on 2 fundamentals. Demographics, and demographics are extraordinarily favorable in the South, and particularly in Atlanta, and unemployment, and we're at 3.6% unemployment. There's more job openings today than ever before in history. So even with higher rates, once people get settled into that, and I do think we probably peaked out somewhat on rates, and probably 6 months, 9 months down the road, we're lower on rates. So I think all is going to be just fine. We're not going to 8 or 9% on interest rates. The 2 propellers that were driving inflation, One was certainly COVID and the shutdown of the world. Basically, you don't build things when you're not working. And the second thing is, at the same time, we printed $7 trillion of money and put it in the pockets of people who had lost jobs and otherwise. And so demand actually went higher and supply went lower. And you have imbalances in almost every industry, no kidding, almost every industry. So certainly we've seen that in housing, but look, we had a great run in housing. And I don't expect that it's going to be a terrible go forward. I think it's going to be actually a more normalized market. And we'll have to settle into that. You all are the best of the best of the best, so I think you'll do just fine.
Thank you, Pat. Let's give him a hand, guys. I like you guys. The two things that cause a market to shift are high inflation. And what's number two? High inflation. And what do you think number two is that causes it? Higher interest rates. So guys, our market is primed for a shift. I looked yesterday, and we had a great closing month in April, but everything's starting to be down now. Number of listings, number of units closed, about 15 to 20%. So guys, just pay attention, because everyone here should be happy that we're heading towards a more normalized market that's more sustainable. And you will do well in this market, I promise you. Did we make it to the other markets page?
We did.
Much worse than this one.
And we learned from them, and we have been able to take that knowledge into this market when we both looked at each other and said, now, Jim, what did we do the last time we had a pandemic? And we went, oh yeah, we never have had one. So yes, we will make it through this one. And I was reading what all the top 11 real estate companies and their leaders had to say yesterday. And they used one word over and over and over again, and it was headwinds. Okay, so look that up when you leave here. Don't start Googling it now, but we are ready for headwinds.
And I'll leave you with this. If you're one of the ones that go, oh my God, interest rates are up, and all of a sudden real estate listings are down, oh my God, then that's what'll happen to you.
And maybe you'll leave the business.
And maybe you should leave the business. That's not anybody here. That's people that are thinking that way. But guys, the sky, as Pat said, is not falling. And guys, we can do well even in this market. So guys, just keep doing your thing. You do well. Please earn every single day, and we will make it. All right, let's move on. Thank you for our sponsor. Please welcome Roof It Forward. Come on up. You better look at my roof and forgot.
I lost your little slip you gave me.
Oh, okay. But you know where I am?
Pretty close.
Okay, good, great, cool, great, good, right. Good
morning,
work.
guys. Always a joy to be here with y'all. For anybody that I haven't gotten to meet, I've seen a few new faces. I'm Ryan with Roof It Forward. I'm one of the managers here with our company. So we've been the roofing vendor here now for 6 years with you guys and a couple other spots around town. So if you haven't gotten to check us out, a little trifold I handed out kind of just talks a bit about the Roof It Forward program, how we donate and give back to our community through children's health care. I'll try to keep it kind of quick. My main tip for you guys that I did speak on at the ALC luncheon I did here about a month ago is just kind of how we're adapting a little more to your needs within how competitive the market is. Because there's so many scenarios where we're getting called out and a roof could be completely trashed, but no one's going to negotiate because of competitiveness. They may still move forward with buying a home even if it needs a new roof or whatever the case may be. Ultimately, we want to help give you guys the right ammunition and understanding of what you're dealing with. Because just because somebody's doing something a certain way doesn't mean it's just kind of overriding the fact something does need to be taken care of. So we don't want anybody to move into a house or throw something on the market that really needs to be addressed in some way. We can kind of work that through. So with that being said, if we come across listings of people that are kind of debating on listing their house because the market is still hot, just ask them how old the roof is. If it's 15 years or older, call me and let's just go out and look at it. It doesn't cost anything for us to take a look at it. We're not under the gun on a time limit at that point of trying to get something done in 3 days, because it's usually due diligence is about to be up when I usually get a phone call from most of my agents. So it gives me more of a window to work in And then like we just had a couple windstorms. So if we can get insurance out here and get them to approve a new roof, I've got time to work that out. Then we're looking at somebody paying their deductible versus a whole, $15,000 roofing project. So, but like I said, anybody that I haven't gotten to meet, if you've got any roof problems that pop up, always just my email's on my card, just email me over the inspection report. Let me see it. Most of the time, the home inspector guys are taking pretty good pictures. I can at least kind of know what kind of shape the shingles are in, kind of whether we're probably going to need a full roof replacement or not based on kind of age and condition, just to kind of at least maybe settle things down a little bit, because it's usually kind of tense and emotions are running high when I get a call with that, that people are worried about coming out that much out of pocket right out of the gate. Do you might have any questions on anything at all, or any needs right now that we need to jump on for you?
Anything additional besides roof you do?
We do gutters, and just we do a lot of roof repairs. We do have some other trades we do. It's not anything that we just kind of like broadcast and do a ton of, because it's kind of situational, if you will. So like if we're out there working on a roof and like 1 or 2 pieces of siding on the chimney's bad, we can knock that out. But we're not the siding guys. They're going to go re-side the whole house and paint everything and stuff like that. So, and honestly, on my end, those little punch out things, with us being a bigger outfit, I can go do a roof on a 10,000 square foot home with less headache than just going to replace a few pieces of wood, which is kind of crazy, but that's just the reality of it for us. So, any other questions though?
Well, let's give him a hand. Okay, Y4C2T. Okay, we're not gonna pick on this morning. We're gonna pick on this morning. Lillian, wake up. Which is your favorite Y4C2Ts this morning?
Always have to start from the beginning. It is win-win or no deal.
You guys, isn't that a great one? Because if we have that mindset that we're not adversaries to the other agent, even though they may be adversarial, but if we can do it to where we think, what can make both parties win? Now, does everybody always want to make it a win? No, they do not. But guys, we're going to rise to the occasion and we're going to do it the right way. Because guys, that is the way our culture is. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to have great integrity. We're going to put the customers first. We're going to be committed. We're going to have great communication, creativity, trust, equity, and success, guys. So all those things are what we do, and that's what sets us apart. And I love it about this company. Sherry Rispy.
Yes.
Let's welcome Sherry. I have never seen anybody that can tell you the worst news and you can say, thank you, Sherry, for sharing.
So, real quickly, Jim and I must have been on the same wave this morning, because I had also printed out the Thomas & Brown License Law CE class, and also to remind you that you have to have this before you renew your license. You have it once every 4 years. It's here at our market center. There's no excuses. It is May 25th, 1 to 4 p.m. And if you look at the flyer, there's a place to RSVP. It probably will be in there with you. So super important.
I'll be there.
I think I need to be too. Okay, so I've got Kimberly handing out a handout right now, which is just basically a cheat sheet. I did not put all of the changes on here. For our newer agents, real quickly, just to let you know that every January, the GAR Forms Committee will come out with changes to your purchases, your contracts. Mid-year, around May, they have to send out another changes, but it's usually like corrections or formatting. There's really not substantial changes in the way you're going to be doing your business. They come out with a lot of clarifications if there's misunderstandings, and that is primarily what the changes are for this mid-year change, are clarifications. There is one new special step that we're going to spend a little bit of time on, and I can just say that it hasn't been put into practice yet, so we're all going to be kind of learning how to do this together, but I'm going to save that one for the end. Just real quickly, and if you want to take notes, or I emailed you actually what I'm going off of. I emailed you I think last week, Cheryl King's interpretations of the mid-year changes. So everybody should have this in your email. If you don't, please let me know and I can resend it to you. With your seller brokerage agreements, whether it's exclusive or non-exclusive, they added some language, just changing it slightly and modifying it, and they added a sentence to make it clear. Like I said, this is not a change, it's just a clarification that no obligation to pay commissions to a co-oping broker if your paragraph 4A has 0 co-opting commission there. So if it's left blank, I think in interpreting it as a 0, but the seller has no obligations to pay a buyer brokerage a commission if there's a zero there. So that's nothing new, it's just a clarification. Then in the,
Sherry, when would we use that?
I think with building some new construction, we've got agents saying that the buyer's gonna be responsible for paying the buyer agent's commission and not the sellers. We have seen it a couple of times where the listing agent's not willing to pay a buyer agent a commission. And I don't know if that's kind of a wave of the way we're gonna start doing things, or I know in some areas of the country, it's always the buyer's agent responsibility to pay the buyer broker's commission. It's never, I think Georgia's kind of unique, that is the kind of standard practice, that the seller pays the buyer's agent's commission. So I don't know if we're kind of heading and trending in that direction or not, but I have had some agents call me to say that the listing agent was not offering to pay them a commission. Which, guys, is even more important, that in your buyer brokerage agreement, you put in there that the buyer is going to pay you whatever it is you set in there, commission, if the listing broker is not willing to pay any of your commissions. It is imperative now more than ever that you put something in there. And I'm also gonna ask that if you put stuff in there, that keep it consistent on all your buyer brokerage agreements. I think that is extremely important, that we keep that consistent when we're filling out our buyer brokerage agreements and putting commissions in there. They added language stating that the commissions will be collected by and distributed by the attorney. I'm not sure why that was added. Maybe I always thought that that's how it happened, so evidently there had to be a reason why that was put in there, so I'm not sure why that was put in there. Your mutual termination of brokerage agreements. They removed the option that the protection period survives termination. Only in the mutual termination, which has always been the case anyway, so I guess they just removed that just to make it fall in line with the way the form should read per your contract, but it's just been removed. So keep in mind, there are 3 ways you can terminate a brokerage agreement. Who can tell me what they are? There's 3 ways to terminate a brokerage agreement. Yes. Anybody? Unilaterally. Mutual. And then expired. Yes, thank you. So only in the mutual termination brokerage agreement has the option that protected period termination has been removed. So keep that in mind, okay? If it's in a unilateral, if you're terminating a brokerage agreement unilaterally, then you've got the rest of the end of your agreement plus the protection period. If your brokerage agreement has expired, your protection period is for that numbers of days, unless what happens? Exactly, unless they relist it with another licensed agent. So all 3 different terminations have a little bit different criteria to it. So if you're ever in those situations, just give me a call and I can help you figure it out. Purchase and sale agreement. All the purchase and sale agreements, they have added new language, and this is new, but I don't think it's really gonna affect anything. But they've added language that sellers' contributions could also cover buyers' commission obligations. So if a seller has agreed to pay $5,000 in closing costs to a buyer, and let's say that $5,000 doesn't totally get used up, then what would happen with the remainder of the $5,000 that doesn't get used? Right, now it can be used to pay some of the commissions.
Yeah, if the buyer is paying the commission, if the seller's paying the commission.
If the seller's paying the commission. So like I said, I don't think it's gonna affect anything, I think it's just a clarification. Not a change to the way we do work with our right to inspect, but they did modify some language with the lead-based paint. So with your lead-based paint exhibit, everybody should know, because I harp on this enough, there's a 10-day, the buyer has a right to opt into a 10-day inspection if the house has lead-based paint, correct?
Yes.
All right, that does not run, so let's say you have a due diligence of 5 days, the buyer still has that full 10 days, and it runs from binding agreement date. All right, so just kind of, like I said, this is not new, they just wanted to clarify it for you. Another change let's see here. Oh, with FHA and VA loans, no change in the way we work it. They just clarified and they added a new statement that states basically that the buyer has until when to get the appraisal back. For FHA and VA, how long does the buyer have to get an appraisal done? Closing. Nothing's changed, they just added language to clarify that for the folks that try to stipulate otherwise. All right? So, not a change, just a clarification on that. So in the condominium resale purchase exhibit that you would attach to your purchase and sale agreement, as it is a condominium, they've eliminated the last sentence which states that the buyer would pay any initiation or capital contribution fees. That's never been the case. That was just old language that they needed to remove to correspond more with the disclosure statements there. The new thing that we are going to have to be careful of, and this is a new change, is they created a new special stip, and it's at the bottom of your page here, the contingency for receiving the condominium questionnaire. Who can guess why this has come about?
That nice building that fell down.
Yes. So on the condominium seller's disclosure statement, they have added some new subsections about deferred maintenance and maintenance records and things of that nature. And they've added it to the seller's condominium disclosure statement in hopes that the seller is gonna be more diligent in asking the HOA and finding and getting that information. I know with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac right now, they've got some temporary, and Cheryl King said these are temporary guidelines, I speak to it also, that they have a right to get more documentation from the condominium about the last time, I guess, it's been inspected or things of that nature, and that could fall outside of your financing contingency period. So they created this special stip that if you've got a buyer and you're selling them a condominium and they're going Freddie Mae or Freddie Mac, I would definitely encourage you to put this special stip in here because it basically gives you a time frame on when you have to get that additional information if it's required. Right? There's a blank there for number of days and binding agreement date. I have no idea because, like I said, we've not had to use this yet. If you've got a buyer's agent, I would throw in the closing date. I mean, just to be safe. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if the seller's going to accept that. But if you've got a buyer, that would be my recommendation until you work with us a little bit and get a better feel for it, just to protect our buyer clients. But please make sure you include that special step because I think that's going to protect us in our buyers being able to get approved or not approved, and then protecting their earnest money with that. So that's your biggest change is that new special step here and how we're going to work with it and use it. Not new, and I didn't realize this was an issue, but when the closing attorney is acting as holder of the earnest money, now you've got your form 510 and 511. So they've added language that the closing attorney cannot deduct fees from earnest money. Didn't know that was happening, or if that was even possible. And it merely prevents the closing attorney from taking portions of the earnest money as their fee for acting as the holder. So I didn't know that was happening either. And then they've also added that I guess attorneys can charge fees if they're the holder and it goes to arbitration or if they have to interplead. They have a right to charge fees for that. But this is making it very clear that they do not have a right to charge fees or deduct it from the earnest money if they're just acting as the holder. So clarification there, I think a little bit of a modification of the language there, and honestly, that is it for the mid-year changes. I think that special step for condominiums is the most important thing that we need to focus on. And we'll talk more about it when you guys start using it and we run into some bumps in the road.
Do we have the ability to wire in earnest money to the office now?
No, we never did.
There's some app of some sort?
It's the earnest app.
And so we can use that, so we don't have to keep using these attorneys?
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's no limit. I've had a couple of agents ask me like if there was a limit. There's no limit on that earnest app. We got $200,000 the other day in earnest. So there's no limit on the money for that.
Just depends on the bank, some banks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, thank you very much. Some banks, they can send it and we will have it within the next day or two. And then if it's a small bank, it may take a week. So it is not instantaneous. So keep that in mind too. When you're putting in your days, the holder shall receive it. It is not instantaneous.
So it is not considered received until it's received.
Well, we
Not
are,
when it's
so,
sent.
when it's sent, you get a payment receipt, right? We're using that, but then we also get a deposit when it actually falls into our bank.
So as far as the days, what is the day?
So if you put 5 days delivered to the holder, I'm counting that payment as delivered, and then I'm hoping that we have it within the next 5 business days in our account. And if not, then we'll start making some phone calls and get a hold of it. That's the way I'm doing it right now.
Paige asked a question.
Okay, there you go, perfect. Any other questions, guys, real quick? So we can move on. All right, thank you, folks.
You know what I'm saying? When you start using your imagination and writing contracts that you've not checked the best with, that's when you get in the most trouble. Because you think you know more than we do, guys. And that's when you call and say, I made a mistake, Michelle, get me out of trouble. Okay? But when you agree to it, there's not much we can do, guys. So, guys, please call your brokers. Don't call me unless it's an emergency, because I don't know the answer to those questions as much as they do. You guys, please, 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 please. Tell us about Red Day.
That joint effort.
Okay. So Red Days is Thursday, May 12th, and we're super excited about it. Chris, you did that, right?
Get your shirts from Kimberly.
Yeah, get your shirts. We've got them in. And this is Thursday the 12th. We are having agents meet at 9. This is our schedule right here. Glad you wrote it because my handwriting's bad. So 9 a.m. we're meeting to load up cars with donations that we collected at the office. 10 to 12 is one shift for the morning, and hopefully everyone's signed up already. If you haven't, let's do it.
25 for the morning shift, so
Yeah.
there's still room, y'all sign up.
So awesome, yeah, and then the afternoon shift is 1:30 to 3:30. We've got lunch in between at the office. Do we know which parking level? Okay, Supreme is sponsoring that from 12 to 1 p.m. We're gonna have food here, and then at 4 p.m. we've got a happy hour at Atlanta Cidery, your Must Ministries.
We do need you to RSVP because we need a head count for the big
That's
trailer that's
Silverton.
coming in from Supreme. We've got reserved spots at the Atlanta Hard Cidery.
Yes, and Silverton is sponsoring our happy hour. And we have drawings for participants. We're gonna have 3 prizes that we're gonna pull 3 names out of a bucket for those that volunteer. And it's gonna be awesome, and we're excited to donate and help out, so.
And there's some really good prizes. So the volunteer means you're on site at Must, or we're gonna have a project here at the office where we're gonna do some cards for the senior lunches and the student lunches, and we're gonna decorate some lunch bags for the summer lunches that are coming up. So any of those in-person volunteers count. But we still need your food because that is embarrassingly small amount of food downstairs.
Bring your
If
food
we can
in.
walk through the hallway, we don't have enough food. So bring food tomorrow, bring it by 9 a.m. on Thursday. We really, really need to fill that hallway up. We wanna fill 4 cars up because last year, or 2 years ago, it took us 3 SUVs. So let's see if we can top that this year.
We need to pack it up, so, and food is the priority, so. Yeah, so awesome, so.
Yeah, and I think we've got a little video here, and I just wanna remind y'all, I mean, I grew up in East Marietta, so I'm a kid of East Cobb. I had a single mother raising us. Times were tough. Mom was using different credit cards, which one would work at the grocery store. We had the power turned off. So we didn't have much growing up, but that was probably something my mom would have taken advantage of. So you're helping your neighbors. It's not just some unknown person who just can't help themselves and the shame on them. These are people down the street from you. These are people who probably live in your neighborhood, who probably go to school, the kids in line in front of y'all at, drop off. So think about those faces when you're watching some of these things. But this is an amazing program that they just opened up, this brand new home to help people who might be in transition in their lives. So I want to show you a quick video, and then we'll talk about my ministries.
Well, this particular facility is unique because it actually was created by the people who worked here. There were countless hours, many, many days, even weeks, where we sat with staff. The staff told us, if we were building a building, here's what it would look like. Here's the flow to the building. So all of that has now culminated in the building that we're standing in today. We'll take care of 136 permanent beds, and then an additional 36 beds that we call flex space and respite space, which is when you have inclement weather or you have other situations where maybe the shelter is overflowing, and we can keep people there until we get them into our permanent supportive housing program. Our current facility is called the Elizabeth Inn. takes care of only 72 people. And then we have people in permanent supportive housing, so that on any given night, there's about 400 people that are placing their head on a pillow through Must Ministries. Well, obviously, when you go from 72 to 172 beds, you've just increased your capacity greatly.
We must now increase the bed capacity to 136 and an additional 36 respite beds for emergency cold weather shelter and other needs. This facility is needed now more than ever.
Somewhere between 2,200 and 2,400 students are considered homeless. So it is a huge issue. We tend to think of it as urban, but it's certainly something that's moved to the suburbs as well.
You're transforming the lives of, again, our vulnerable, but you're transforming the lives of our county and all of us.
The way that this facility is broken out is that we have a single women's dormitory that will accommodate 30 women. Then we have a men's dormitory that will accommodate 56 men. Then we have an additional 10 family rooms for women and children. And so that 172 beds is going to make a huge impact in our community. And what I really love about it is that this $16 million facility is totally paid for. It's completely debt-free on the day that we're moving in. And that's a tribute to our donors and foundations and grants. It's been amazing.
Absolutely. All right, you all. So I don't know, Pat, come on up, buddy. 30 or 35 years ago, I met Pat. He was at this little bank called Home Bank. And he and I just enjoyed being together. They say surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Well, they weren't available, so I picked Pat. Hey, that's right, buddy. You're so good. You're so good for my people. I know you know that. But we've known each other for a long time, and we've been through a couple struggles together. And we saved at least one man's life. We'll be paying out telling that story today, because you don't know that. And then I met Dr. Ike, and that was amazing. Godly man, and so I'm gonna let you introduce him.
Yeah, great. So first of all, it's an unbelievable blessing to be here today with all of you, and with Jim. And I want to just tell you this, that there are voices, think about this, there are voices that were in your life, are still in your life, that really shaped your life. And if you were blessed like me, you had my dad, who now my family reverently calls him the source. I mean, is that the coolest name you've ever heard for a patriarch? And how he got to be the source was he lost his son, my little brother, when I was 4, and then he lost my mom because she couldn't take the pain. And what he did was come home that night, and the first thing he told me and my 2 brothers is, forgive your mother. She's the only one you'll ever have. And I watched him serve and sacrifice and forgive. And we saved my mama before she passed from this planet. Actually, God did, but it was an amazing story. And so he's that voice in my life. And he's 83 years old and in Sarasota, Florida today. When his neighbors and friends say, what does your son do for a living? He goes, well, he's a pastor masquerading as a mortgage banker. So earlier when you were talking about condos, I was like, please don't call on me, because I don't know anything about condos. Actually, I do maybe know a thing or two. In the late 90s, we crossed paths together, Dr. Ike and I. And how it happened was he was on TV one time speaking, and the fellow who would bring in inspirational speakers for our organization monthly was watching him and said, I think we need to bring this guy, Dr. Ike. Well, Dr. Ike came, and the first thing that was fascinating is when he finished speaking, I thought, I don't know if he has skills or what, but I've never seen anyone speak that well for that long. And I was just mesmerized by him. And then we got to break bread together afterwards, and he's become my best friend. And let me just tell you this, okay? If you knew my upbringing, I was the ultimate rebel. Grew up in South Florida. The idea that God has a sense of humor, that someday a Southern Baptist pastor and I would be best friends. It's fascinating, it is. But what Dr. Ike met was a guy who could have easily been judged. But in the late 90s, Ike met me and he met my heart, and he became another voice in my life. I have 2 men in my life, like two. And he now knows the source, they're like buds. And he now calls himself the resource and calls me the force. So we got the source and the resource and the force all working together, but we're all working for the same fundamental outcome. And that is to invest our hearts and souls in the lives of other people to make them better and lead them better. And if there's anything I can impart on y'all today, real estate's important. We make a living doing it. I make a living doing more of this. But really, we need to be voices in the lives of every single person we cross paths with so we can deposit something in their life to lead them a little bit better. We do that, we'll be rich, really rich. And this guy has made a ton of people really rich, including me and my family. He's married my two boys in my backyard. You have a minute. I'm gonna give you a lot of money today. Actually, I don't know who I'm giving it to you, but somebody's gonna get it. So I 4 years ago in June, Lisa told me I've financed 375,000 homes in Georgia, and my wife Lisa said, "We're moving to Milton." I do everything my wife tells me. Okay. By the way, I've been married 37 years happily. That's how you do it. But I was like, I don't even know where Milton is, and we wound up buying 8 acres, and when I got to the property, the house needed a lot of work, and I'm not very good with anything like that. But I walked to the back of the property, it was a gazebo, and I stood and I looked at the house, and it was like I had this magical spiritual moment where it was like, your boy's gonna get married in the backyard. Couldn't wait, got in the car, called my son who was in Nashville, not yet engaged. He just had a spiritual experience, and he was closer to marriage than my other crazy son. And I said, hey, I just had to say, Pops, I'm not moving to Atlanta, I'm not getting married, and I'm not getting married in your backyard. I was like, okay. Well, my youngest one got married in the backyard by Dr. Ike, who they've known their entire lives. And then my oldest son, 2 years ago, got married in that backyard, right in front of that gazebo. It was amazing. But he's baptized me 3 times. Right. Once in the Jordan River in Israel. I told him, I said, can we just get this right one time? We got to do it a 4th. He baptized my whole family. When the source was up just recently, I wanted to give my dad a gift for his birthday. And I thought, what greater gift than letting Dr. Ike come over and baptize his family. So it was really good for that reason. But Ike is, he is the best service person other than Jesus himself that's ever lived on this planet. I've never seen him say no to a human being. It's unbelievable, the stuff that he does. I don't know if he ever sleeps. I got recently to be able to give his daughter back to him at his wedding. And I've told Dr. Ike, if God forbid anything ever happens to you, I got your family, because you are my best friend and a great voice. $5,000.
Woohoo! All right.
$5,000.
Let's give him a hand.
My good friend.
I tell you what, they don't come any better than that guy right there. He is my best friend. Jim, I'm glad you kept him straight all these years and everything.
I pray for him daily.
Yeah, he needs it daily. I want you to know. When I first went to Home Bank, can you imagine bringing in a minister to be on your team? And they weren't quite used to that. And so we have what they call the cuss jar. And every time that you would cuss, you had to put money into the jar. And then it helped to build Habitat for Humanity homes. We were building a new Habitat house every 3 days. There was a lot of cussing that was going on there, I'm telling you. But to watch that team come together, and then Pat told me, here's what your goal is. But I asked him, what would success look like if I come here? He said, we would be good enough to be on Fortune magazine's list of the 100 best places to work in America. I mean, that was straight up it, you know. This is what I want to be able to create, a place that people would actually come, enjoy being at work while they're there. I mean, my goodness, 65% of your waking hours are spent at work, getting ready to go to work and coming home from work. And the Atlanta traffic, it may be 85% of your waking hours are done that way. So why not build a place to work where people enjoy coming to work? And Pat's ultimate goal was this. I want it to be so good that people will want their children, people who are working there, will want their children to work there. That's the kind of workplace I want you to help us be able to build. And so we were able to do that. And when I asked about the Fortune magazine list, I really wasn't familiar with it at that point. And I said, is that like 1,000 large companies and 1,000 mediums and 1,000 small? And he goes, no, there's only 1,000. At that time, that was it. You know, there's 100 that can go on that list. And you have to have more than 1,000 employees. And our first year, we didn't even have 1,000 employees. But Pat said, I want you to do it as if you could actually qualify. And when all the results came in, we would have made the list that year, but we did not have enough people working for us. But he gave me the latitude, and it shows you about the mentality that he has about investing in something when we couldn't even make the list, because he knew it would help us to be able to get our feet on the ground and then ultimately to get on that list. And so we did that for the next 4 years in a row. And, you know, it was absolutely amazing. I learned so much from him about how to do life. And, you know, Jim, when the pressure gets put on, that's when you really know what a person is made of. You know, character, you know, is not made in a crisis. You'll hear people say, well, character's made in a crisis. Nope, character is revealed in a crisis. And I watched him in the middle of a crisis of the highest level that could have been in the financial life of that organization. And I watched him have an option to be able to say, well, I really didn't receive this letter in time. Or he could say, I've received that letter, and now it's going to go into a filing. We were literally, that day, we were filing to go public. And I watched him do the right thing. As a matter of fact, I've never seen him not do the right thing. And so that's the kind of best friend you want in your life, because the Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so did the countenance of a friend. The only thing I wish is that we got to spend more time together. And by the way, Kenzie's anniversary was yesterday. And so there were things on social media, and I was commenting on it, but being able to do those weddings, Pat being at the front. My daughter was married down at the Garden Room, if any of y'all are familiar with that, right beside the St. Regis, actually a part of it there. The only wedding they've ever had. She can talk people into things more than I can. And I mean, she is a persuader par excellence. And so Pat was the guy down at the front while I walked my daughter down the aisle. And then I took over. By the way, he has an ordination certificate. He can do your wedding. So if any of y'all are needing a pastor to go, Pat will be the right guy for you. So Jim, I want to make sure now, I've got what time it is that I'm standing up here. How long from right now, what time do you want me to be through?
What time was serving lunch, guys? I forgot.
Tomorrow.
How about 30, 45 minutes? How about
All
that?
right, very good then. Man, I can tell you all kinds of stuff. So, the market's changing, everything's shifting, right? I mean, you know what, that's happening everywhere. It's not just happening in your world. And here's something I've been living by the last few years. I don't have many nuggets that come to me, but this is one that came to me a few years ago when I was turning one of those numbers on the calendar, and I was like, oh my goodness, you know, I can't believe this. And here was the thought that came to me. The day that your memories are greater than your dreams, you're dead in the water. The day that the good old days. You remember when it was so good? You remember when the market was this and the market was that? And the day that your memories become greater than your dreams, you're dead. Because you have to have dreams to compel you to move forward. You have to have things that are going to draw you and help you to be able to get there. And so I want to kind of weave in a little bit for you today. And Pat, don't let me forget to share some John Maxwell tips, if you don't mind. Pat is now, we're a part of the personal and professional best that y'all are a part of. And John's a part of that team now and has been our friend for a number of years. John and I go back about 30 years. Zig Ziglar is the guy that introduced us. And so we got this great relationship. And I got some tips I'm going to share with you. But I also I just want to breathe some life into you today, you know, because we do have a shift in market. Things are kind of different. And I want to be able to help you dream. I want to be able to help you, you know, maybe get recentered a little bit about what does that future look like. So you guys are getting ready on Red Day. You're going to come over to Must and you're going to hang out with us. And you saw the video just a moment ago about that ribbon cutting. Well, let me tell you what happened with all of that. That dream started nearly 7 years ago. Nearly 7 years ago. Do you have a dream large enough that you won't let go? That you will just grab a hold and you hold on and you go, this is going to happen. I'm going to see this through, because that's the situation we faced at Must. So we were at Kennesaw State University with our board of directors. We're in this room and we got all the sticky notes that we're putting everywhere, right? And we're sticking them up on the wall. What is Must going to look like in a few years? What do we want to be able to do? What's the number one thing that we want to be accomplished? And we actually ended up setting that day 5 strategic goals. And at the top of them was to be able to build a new homeless shelter, because our current shelter is just an old, very old, repurposed church. And so the upstairs where the auditorium used to be, well, that's the place where the men stay. Downstairs in the basement, that would have been the fellowship hall in a church and Sunday school rooms. That's where women and children stay. And it has 72 beds, and the building is so old. And what are we going to do to be able to do something different? So that was the goal that we set out that day. Someone mentioned it a little earlier today. Make sure that you still write down your goals. You know, that's one of the most basic principles in the world, is that you write down your goals. Did you know the Bible even talks about that? It's in the book of Habakkuk in chapter 2, beginning in verse 2. It says, record the vision, in other words, your goal, record the vision and inscribe it on tablets so that the one who reads it may run. Now, let me tell you what that says. It says that your goals that you inscribe on tablets, they were writing on, clay uniform tablets in those days. So you would etch and etch and etch to get your letter into that clay the right way. And so what he was saying is, it's not just that you do it one time. You don't just write a goal and then stick it in a drawer and then forget about it, but you have to continually etch it, like you're etching into that clay tablet. But you're etching it into your mind. This is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want to be able to do. And then it says that the one who reads it may run. So here's what it's teaching you to do. It's teaching you to be able to overcome the law of inertia. Do some of you in this room remember the law of inertia? Here's what the law of inertia says. An object at rest will tend to stay at rest until an object of greater force comes along. That describes me perfectly during college football season, because I am an object at rest. I have my lounge chair, and I love my lounge chair, and I like to pull it up in front of the TV. I go see my granddaughter cheer in the mornings because she's a Marietta Blue Devil. It's been hard for me to go Devils. But, I'm working through all that kind of thing. But I go see her cheer, and then I come back home, and, man, I even take game day. So I sit in my chair, and I love to watch my football on Saturday, all the way through the evening. And that's where I would stay, except there is an object of greater force in my home who has a name, Robin. And she is my wife. And so Robin will come in and go, here's what we're going to do today. And she moves me off the sofa. We all need something to move us off the sofa, don't we? And that's what dreams do. That's what plans do. So we sat there and we started strategizing about this new shelter that we would have. And then we started doing all of this work, and we worked for years. We had to go out, we had to buy property. We did that. Then we got caught in a situation. The property was already zoned for a homeless shelter, but we wanted a variance of 90 feet on 6.3 acres of land. Think about that. 30 yards on 6.3 acres of land so that we could build a 2-story building rather than a 3-story building, which would fit more into the area. And so we had to go to court. We had to go through all kinds of things. They had to go before zoning. It ended up delaying us nearly 2 years. Nearly 2 years. But you know that old saying by Sojan Kierkegaard?
you know, the existentialist philosopher. He said you live life going forward, but you only understand it when you turn around and you look backward. Because, see, I can look backward now, and here's what happened during that 2 years. We were raising money. And that's why we were able to build that shelter debt-free. But there came this moment in time. It was in September. My daughter was going to have been married in Hawaii, and Pat and Lisa and the crew were coming over with us to do that as well. Well, then they shut down Hawaii, right? Pandemic situation. So we're shut down. We can't get there. And so it changed everything. So I decided to do something for them that'd be fun. So I took them to Disney World. And if you're going to get over not being able to do your wedding, Disney is a great place to go. There is magic in that mouse, right? And so we go down to Disney World, and you'll understand why I'm telling so specific here. It is September the 30th, the day that they would have been married. The day they would have been married. But we're at Disney, and we're having fun there in the Magic Kingdom. And we sit down to eat a bite, and I get this message, and it's an email. And I open it up, and it was very vague. And I'm just wondering, any of you ever received an email like this? Dear Dr. Riker, we have observed your character, and we have observed Must Ministries and what you are doing. And please do not think that this email is a scam. So, how many of y'all have received a similar type of email, right? It's usually attached to some country somewhere, you know, my grandfather passed away, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it was so funny because please do not think this is a scam. A second email will be sent to you. If you've not received it within 48 hours, then please check your spam email. So I call my IT guy and I go, hey, this thing is telling me I'm going to get a second email. I'm afraid it might be one of those phishing things that they're doing to get you to click on a link that is going to be sent to me later. And by the way, in that email, it said you're going to be invited into an opportunity to receive a lot of money. Okay. Get that. So my IT guy goes, looks like a legitimate IP address. He said, I have no idea about what's written in the letter. Get the second email. Dear Dr. Riker, this serves as the second email to let you know you've now been invited into a process that you could not have just chosen to be a part of. And so we're going to invite you, and we'll send you a third email. We're going to invite you to apply for a grant of anywhere from a few $1,000s to $5 million. Okay? A few days later, third email, Dear Dr. Riker, you were selected, we're excited. Now, here's the grant. It was like 15 pages. These really superficial type questions were asked. So I have my team, I called them and I said, we're going to just do this, see what it is. So we do it and we send it in. Now, here's what was going on. Have you ever been at a point where you can't get something solved and your timeline is closing, like a closing, right? Closing event for y'all? Well, we were $1.5 million short of being able to stay debt-free and keep building this building. But we had to have it by the end of the year. This is September the 30th. We need $1.5 million. We don't know where it's going to come from because the grants we already have come in, and we're $1.5 million short to stay debt-free in building our building. And so September the 30th, this all starts. We fill out the grant and send it in. Another couple of weeks go by. It's now the first week of December. Got $1.5 million we got to account for it. And when we sent in the grant, I went, let's go for it all. So we asked for $5 million. Said $1.5 million will go to our new shelter. So I'm sitting at Chewy's with my wife, my phone dings, I decided to look at it. I never thought I'd ever read this in my life. Dear Dr. Riker, like to congratulate you on being awarded $5 million for Must Ministries. Here's the great part. Signed, Jeff Bezos.
Oh, wow.
If you would have told me that my name and Jeff Bezos would ever be on the same page, I would have asked you, what are you smoking? Because I know some boys that can make a lot of money off this, I guarantee you. I mean, it was just, it was impossible. Here's the cool thing to me. God knew what our needs were. God knows the motives of our hearts. And he provided for us that $1.5 million. So we were able to continue building it debt free. It's a $16 million building. And the day that we cut that ribbon, we didn't owe a dime on it. It was totally paid for. You guys are the ones who help us do these kind of things. That guy over there in the corner, he's had his family foundation giving to us. He personally gives to us. I mean, we have so many incredible people who help us to do what we do. And your Red Day is going to be a huge part of that. I'm excited because you're going to be going to our donation center and volunteer center to be able to do this. And that was a building that we bought as well. All together, we're moving offices, we're doing all this other stuff. This project will be $23 million, everything that we're doing. And we completely believe, because we've got a couple more grants coming in through the state, we believe that the entire project will be debt-free the day we finish that up. It's been absolutely the most amazing thing that you've ever seen. And this year must turn 50 years old. So, you know, the organization that you're a part of, I wish y'all had known about Must in those days when you were growing up, because there's so many people, you know, that go through hard times, and families get hit by different things and different situations, and it changes their entire world. So let me tell you for a minute, just a couple of specific things to Must, and then I want to share the John Maxwell stuff. So Pat, please don't let me forget. So here's what's been happening at Must. When the pandemic hit, y'all are going to be going and volunteering, right? So you're going to have people physically in the building. In 2019, before the pandemic, we had 17,000 people volunteer at Must. 17,000 people. That's why we are at the top of the heap in the, if you've never heard of, or if you've heard of Charity Navigator, that's a third-party rating system that rates charities, you know, on a scale of 1 to 100. And the highest they rate is a 4-star, which drives me nuts. Because people go, why aren't y'all a 5-star? They don't rate that high. And it's an awkward thing to try to answer. But, you know, so we are a 4-star with them. We have been 14 out of the last 15 years. We've been a 4-star with them. This year we received our highest rating ever. On their scale of 100%, we were a 98.7. 98.7. Let me tell you what that means for us to you. For every dollar you give us, so think about Pat made a commitment over there, you know, $5,000. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. So when you think about his $5,000, how much of $1 would go to running the entire organization? The answer is 13 cents. So you got, you know, 87 cents of every dollar. That goes into programs and taking care of people. And the needs have increased after the during the pandemic like you never would believe. In a normal year, before the pandemic, we would serve about 33,000 unique individuals. 84% of them are women and children. So when you think about Must and you think about organizations like that, sometimes you can have a totally different picture of what the reality is. If you were to describe, and you rolled all the demographics together, of who is the average person that's homeless in our country today, it's a 13-year-old girl. That's the average homeless person. In Cobb County and Marietta City schools, there's between 2,200 and 2,400 homeless students in Cobb County right now. So it's a huge problem. Add in Kennesaw State University. You would be shocked at how many students are homeless at Kennesaw State University. And this is just something I never really thought about until I got so involved in what we do at Must. The highest percentage of them are homeless because they were in foster care and they aged out. So, you age out at 18 years old and all of a sudden now you don't have, a family taking care of you. We do a thing at the church that I pastor just up the street here at Piedmont Church. We've started buying the meal cards for kids for a year. It's expensive. They get 3 meals a day at the school, and it takes care of them. But we're doing that for kids that are homeless. I had this young lady, you could tell she had never spoken in front of a crowd ever, and she came to our church, and we met with this large group, and she stood up and she apologized. She said, I've just never done anything like this. She said, here's my story. My sister and I were children, and one day our mom left us in a hotel room and she never returned. And she said, we were put into foster care. She said, so we grew up in foster homes, and they're twins. And she said, and then when we get to college, it was been so hard for us. So imagine the pressure it takes off of you to have a card that's going to take care of all of your meals during that school year. And, there's so many issues. Suburban poverty is the fastest growing segment of poverty in America. You think urban, but it's suburban. You say why? Because a lot of times it's women and children, and they live out of a car. And you have parking lots like at Walmarts and all these strip shopping centers and all of this. There's more places where there's light to be able to try to sleep in some degree of safety. So in a normal year at most, before the pandemic, we would have served 33,000 unique individuals. During the 2 years of pandemic, we served 275,000. We went from giving away on average 1.1 ton of food each day to 3.5 tons of food each day. The numbers were staggering. They've continued, they've started declining somewhat, but still it's incredible how much we've been able to take care of people. And imagine, we lost 17,000 volunteers. So over that 2 years, we went from 33,000 people a year to 275,000 people for 2 years without our volunteers. So like having y'all coming in, we're still trying to get our feet back on the ground with large groups when they come to volunteer. And so, it's been an adjustment because everything has adjusted in our world. We put people, because of a church in our community, Woodstock City Church, I'll give them a shout out. They're a part of North Point Ministries. They do the Be Rich campaign. They help provide us money for us to keep people in motels when our shelter is full. Before the pandemic, we averaged $5,000 a month in, the weekly rental hotels. Right now, we're averaging $40,000 a month. That's how many people are impacted. That's the county and the area where you're selling homes. This is where you are, and Cherokee County is not exempt. Now, soon we'll do our summer lunch. You'll start, matter of fact, if you tune in to Channel 11 today, I'll be on there doing a Zoom call about summer lunch. Last year, and before the pandemic, we served 279,000 summer lunches. That's 6,000 kids, 279,000 lunches over the 10 weeks that they're out of school. And so this past year, during the pandemic, each year, we've served 535,000 lunches. So the need has just, increased dramatically. So y'all bringing food and doing what you're doing, I just can't thank you enough, because I promise you it's going to be going right back out the door. And so, that's exciting for me. So that's kind of a little bit of an update there, Jim, on us. Now, come over beside me. You mind if I do something real quick? Yeah. Do I have time to do this? Yeah. This is just what I want to keep my promise here. So it's nice being buddies with John Maxwell, because long before sometimes things come out in books, he'll send out little test things to us or whatever and go, hey, what do you think about this? And so at Christmas, he sent me this one, and he called it John Maxwell's End of the Year Questions. And here's what he said. He said, the last week of each year, I asked myself these questions. And he says there are 4 of them that are look back questions that are about reflecting on the past year. There's 1 question for right now, and then there's 4 look forward questions that are all about preparation. So here was his backward questions, 4 of them. Number 1, what made me proud? You know, I know it's not the beginning of the year, but thinking back over the last year, what's something that you did that you go, man, that really made me proud right there. I'm proud that got to happen. Question number 2, what did I learn? What was it that I learned this past year that I go, man, this was really remarkable. During the pandemic, I didn't want to grow stale because I'm used to going to all these different huge speaking engagements, and I get to hear all these other speakers, and then I take their material and use it. And so all of a sudden I call it R&D. That's not research and development. That's rip off and duplicate. Y'all all know that world. So I joined something, my daughter got it for me. It's called Master Class. It was fascinating. Man, I spent so much time getting to do that. Question number 3, and this is huge. Who did I lead? Who are you investing in? So I have all these young people that I get to invest in all the time, and who are you leading? Who's somebody that you're around? Question number 4, what held me back? You know what's going to hold back most real estate agents during this market? Just their attitude. If you think it's going to be a bad year, and it's going to be a bad year. Y'all ever hear the story about Houdini? Y'all all know who Houdini is, right? Greatest escape artist that ever lived. The way he would gain publicity is he would go into a community where he was going to do a show and he wanted to sell tickets. So he'd go in and everybody was proud of their local jail. Nobody breaks out of our jail, right? And so he would go in and go, I'll be able to break out of your jail within 1 hour. And that was the challenge. I'll do it within 1 hour. So he was never defeated except one time, and it was in Wales, the country of Wales. And he was there, and he was in this little community, and they went over, and what would happen is the jailer would shut the door, and Houdini would just be in a pair of slacks, you know, and no shirt, no shoes, no socks. And what he would do is he had these thin little instruments that he would fit in a little slot, almost like tuxedo pants, down the side. And so everyone would step out, and he'd pull those little instruments out, and he'd go to work, and he'd make it dramatic, you know, and everything. And all of a sudden, it would open. And the people of the town would put up money against Houdini's money, and he never lost except one time. He went in this jail cell, the jailer shut the door and everything. Houdini went to work. At the end of 30 minutes, he was no closer to getting it open than when he started. He started perspiring, and they said literally, there was a puddle of perspiration on the floor. And the hour was about up, and Houdini was, for the first time, he knew that he wasn't going to get this lot. And he was so angry, everybody started cheering and rushing into the room, and he was still in the jail cell. And he was so angry that he started hitting the jail cell door, and it swung open. The jailer had forgotten to lock the door. But where was it locked, y'all? Telling you, don't let the naysayers get you down. Think back to all those family members that told you you'll never make a living in real estate. Everybody's doing real estate, right? We all know those people. What a joy they are. So, you know, who did I lead? What held me back? Here's the now question. Do I still love what I do? Do I still love what I do? Because if you don't love what you do, somebody else will, and they'll replace you. So, you know, I would suggest falling in love really, really well and fast. These are the forward questions, and I'm done. Number 6, am I willing to pay the price again this year? Babe Ruth said, yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. And they don't. You may have had a grand slam year. Well, hey, it's a new year. And you get to start all over. Then question number 7, what is most important right now? If you look at your life, what is most important right now? And then number 8, what do I need to change? change. I was in a course one time because of Pat Flood, and I was with Stephen Covey back in the old days, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we were there for like 3 days with him. It was so cool. And he walked in one day and he goes, today we're going to talk about change. And there was kind of a groan in the room, like, And he goes, oh, you don't like the word change? Y'all like the word irrelevant better? Yeah. You don't want to be the expert in what used to work. The average age of a realtor in this country is 58 years old. The average age of the person they're selling to is in their 30s. You don't want to be the 8-track tape player in a live streaming world, y'all. I mean, I love my 8-track, but hey, we're in a new time. You need to be up to date on what's happening right there. And then the last question is, what is my word for the year? What is my word? I have my word. That's kind of a hot thing this year. Mine was mindfulness. Be present where you are. Be present with the people that you're with. You know, look them in the eyes, talk to them. So one of the things I started setting up for me was setting up lunches with people that I've never really met in my church. And I just went, hey, you want to have lunch? It'll be on me. I've got a couple of them taken out today. Took out someone yesterday. It's a great chance for me to get to know them and to hang out with them. Every few Sundays, I go, you might need my cell phone number. And I give people my cell phone number. Just like for you, 770-365-9797. If I can ever help you in any way, let me know. People are not an imposition to me. People are what keeps me going. So what is my word for the year? Then I'll leave you with this. At our Christmas party last year, Horst Schultz, he has a buddy of Pat and mine's. We go back a good long ways as well. And I was sitting at the dinner table with him. Pat assigned me to kind of, to be the host for he and Sherry. And I said, so what's the single greatest lesson you've ever learned? I mean, this is a guy that, created the Rick Carlton way. And here's what he said. Never go to work to do your work. Go to work to create excellence. Never just go to work to be at work, but go to work to create excellence. We do those kinds of things. I mean, it's going to be great. Thank y'all for helping us create excellence at Plus. Thank you for your financial support. Thank you for canned goods. I'm just telling y'all, if you could see the looks on people's faces, and now there are 30 food pantries, physical pantries in schools in Cobb, Marietta, and Cherokee that serve now over 100 schools, 600 families a month get their groceries from those pantries that the schools run. And I'll leave with this, buddy. There's a school off of Patmel Road. It's called Green Acres Elementary. And Ashley Mize is the principal there. And on the day that we were going to cut the ribbon for their pantry, she started crying. I mean, they were like crocodile tears. I went, okay. And she goes, I'll explain in a minute. And we had those big scissors standing. She goes, let me tell you why this is so personal. She said, I had a little girl come to me a couple of weeks ago before school. She caught me in the hallway. She said, Miss Mize, can you get me something to eat? I'm so hungry. She said, well, yeah, darling. She said, I'll get you something. She said, did you not have any breakfast this morning? She said, no, ma'am. She said, and I didn't have dinner last night. And Ashley said, well, honey, and listen carefully. She goes, honey, why didn't you have dinner last night? She said, it wasn't my turn to eat. Can you imagine being a parent and having to choose which child gets to eat? That's what MUST is there for. We get to represent you. And it's a privilege to be in partnership with Keller Williams. Y'all rock. I love Jim Alexander so much. And Pat Flood and Supreme, can't thank them enough for their investment as well. Y'all got any quick questions?
You can always donate on mustministries.org if you want to donate directly.
That was a beautiful question.
Do we need money or gift cards in addition to food?
Money and gift cards are always so appreciated.
We can collect those. You can leave them with Billy or give them to Liz or myself, and we'll make sure they get over there. Okay. Thank you.
Whatever gift cards you all give, I'll match it.
All right, there's the challenge.
If I run out of money, I'll call Pat.
Oddly, I did the very same thing.
Okay, you all, give us about 5 more minutes. Michelle, come on up and talk about your thought for the day.
Oh, gosh. I don't know how to follow this, so we're just gonna do it positive. How many of you know about the table of contents in the guard contract? How many people use them?
Once.
Okay. Do yourself a favor. I'm the nerd. I print it out every time it changes and I laminate it. So when people like yourself call me and go, is there a contract for, I can look it up. Anyway, do yourself a favor and print it because it will answer a lot of your questions and that way you can go to it really quickly. So that's just my tip for the day. That's
I
it.
like that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are you a SC on DISC?
No, I had to teach myself. I was in mortgage banking for 29 years and I had to be compliant, so I had to teach myself. I have high eye.
Then that's hope for every high eye. You know?
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, you've been trying to teach me that for years to be compliant. I haven't worked in that yet. Okay, anything else? Get off Kim? Let's go through the slides quickly. Exactly right. We'll be out of here, guys, in 5 more minutes. Let's go through them quickly, okay? All right, don't forget about this. Every Monday with you guys, it is such a joy to be in there and watch them doing their what's the right word? The scripts. Thank you, scripts. That's right, guys. That's such a joy. And I go into almost every single Monday and Wednesday. Just hang out with them for a few minutes. Guys, please show up for that. C-Class Radon Inspection, May 10th, hosted by Marispec, guys. Great class. Sign up.
That's tomorrow. You don't have to register.
Tomorrow.
Just show up.
Yep, just come on.
It's today. I'm sorry, today.
Today is the 10th, you're right. C-Class Radon, May 11th, New Agent Mastermind. Guys, come ask Arthurine a bunch of questions. See if you can stump Arthurine. I love that. Contracts Mastermind.
18th.
Talked by Michelle Byers. She does know the contracts well, so come do that, and it is on the 18th.
And with Sherry Arispy.
And with Sherry Arispy, our two contract gurus.
What day, sorry? The 18th?
We do it 11 to 12.
On the 18th. Contract Mastermind, Command Happy Hour. Both. Thank you so much, Kevin Jackson. He's there and a very faithful guy. Go ask him your dumbest questions, and he'll answer them. You know the answers. That I don't know. Come join us for another great community event. Journals for a Cause, guys. You want to say something about that, Liz?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I just dropped off the journals that we collected over the past month, and we had 60. So thank you so much for doing that. And we'll do it again. Anytime you want to bring some in, that's awesome. But it's for an amazing organization as well. So we got 60 journals for their retreat. Women that come to us. So I just dropped it off to them. They were thrilled. So thanks for your participation in that.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks for heading up. That's one nice success. Career Night's coming up. Virginia Real Estate Career. Come. Date Thursday, May 12th. Location. Here at this office. You want to talk about it?
Sure. Help someone improve their lives. Help someone do as well as we've done. And if you'll just send me their name, telephone number, and email address, I'll reach out to them. We've got Career Night. We talk about KW Prep, which tells about real estate. And then we have scholarships to do pre-licensing. So if they'll follow that path, we'll get them started and build your downline and change their lives.
Agreed. And then, guys, please sign up for this happy hour. And this is going to be at James Overbeck's office. And it is on Thursday, May the 19th. And this guy who is amazing is going to come and talk to you about how to actively build your downline and have a great income coming in for the rest of your life. So please come and do it. Movie party. Guys, this should be, everyone should be signing up for this. This is such an easy way for you to touch your database. I'm still putting it on, so please sign up for this. It's coming up May 28th at 10 a.m. Invite your whole database to a movie. They'll love you for it. That's it. Are you all? Let's give Dr. Ike one more hand. Thank you.
Liz's birthday.
Liz's birthday.
Yes.
Great people have birthdays in May.
again.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Best one.
I appreciate it.
Okay,